on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Nalo Kicking Knowledge. Today, we'll be discussing Saturn in the seventh house and what happens when Saturn is in the seventh house in your natal chart. What's Saturn? Saturn is the planet of limitations, restrictions, discipline, organization, the reality of life. The seventh house is the house of partnership, marriage, legal bindings. A good way to look at the seventh house is just how you interact with other people. At its highest level, it is associated with your marriage, and it shows, the type of spouse you'll get, the climate of your marriage, and things like that. But overall, it's like if you're an entrepreneur, if you're doing anything like politics or dealing directly with people in the selling of something, the seventh house is going to be key for you. So when Saturn comes into the seventh house, what happens is that he actually blesses the person's marriage. Under this condition, Saturn blesses the person's marriage under the condition that they get married at the correct time. So the first thing you should know when having Saturn in the seventh house is that everything your pre-Saturn return is preparing you for everything after, including your marriage. So I give it to you like this. The next part of Saturn in the seventh house is people who are very career oriented, or they work a lot. All right, this can be a multitude of things. If Saturn is in the seventh and this person has a ninth or 12th house influence, you can see a person who travels a lot because of work, and also third house influence, right? And what what I say, it prepares you for that, because if you get married before your Saturn return and you happen to be that person who works a lot, who's always, on the go, you're not going to be able to balance your career in your marriage. And Saturn in the seventh house is very much about the balancing of that. Remember, Saturn is exalted in Libra. Libra is the sign originally associated with the seventh house. So, say you're that person that gets married before and you work a lot or whatever. Something's gonna suffer, either your career or your marriage. All right? So, keep that in mind. You want to take the time before your Saturn return and to really grow up. The next thing with Saturn is that these people, they attract partners who may need discipline, partners who may want more of your time, because the person with Saturn in the seventh house, assuming that it's in a good sign and aspected well, you will be bringing those qualities to the relationship. So, like I said, if you get into something serious early on in life, it's gonna detract away. It's gonna detract from you building yourself and being all you could be. But when you do get married on time, you have a very Saturn-like marriage, and it can sometimes be boring to some people. This is where you want to check your Venus and your Moon to see exactly what kind of relationship you need to be in. But Saturn in the seventh house pretty much guarantees you that stability, that financial stability, possibly emotional stability. That's why I said check where your Moon is and your Venus and things like that. But overall, because Saturn is bringing so much reality into your relationships, this is not something you This is not something you want to experience young. You want to be fully able and mature for the relationship that you want. Because if you get it, if you get it too early, you're not going to appreciate it. All right. So next thing with Saturn in the seventh house is that these people, um, they're the managers of society. If there's, at a job, there's, you have higher ups, things like that. The person who really is by the book and is very um, disciplined and make sure all the other employees or whatever follows the rules, they have Saturn in the seventh house. It's very much a manager of people. And through this, people will respect you, but they're also going to box you in, in the sense of your qualities, your Saturnian qualities won't always be needed. So, or wanted by others. So, Saturn, people with Saturn in the seventh can feel left out. Okay, like they may not be considered that fun friend. Okay, if they are, that's a lot of fifth house influence and things like that. For the most part, Saturn is serious about the relationships with others. And career wise, this can lead to a lot of things. Definitely Saturn really represents like construction and like steel and hard manual work. So it can even represent someone who runs their own construction company, gets into construction, so on and so forth. Okay. So, guys, this was my interpretation of Saturn in the seventh house. I hope you enjoyed. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, feel free to do so. And until next time, peace.